welcome. You're watching Medically Speaking, and I am Meenakshi Upreti. With me, two senior experts joining us from the United States of America. This is a part of our global series where we talk to health experts from across the world and try to understand their point of view and see if there are any lessons which India can learn, which we can use in our situation as the Omicron cases are rising in the country with each passing day. I have two senior experts. Without much ado, let me introduce them right away. I have Dr. Ravi Kohli. He is a senior psychiatrist from the USA. I also have Dr. Lokesh Edara, senior physician, both of them, as I said, joining us from the United States of America. Thank you, sir, both of you, for taking our time to speak to NewsX. Starting with Dr. Lokesh first. Sir, help us understand. Far as US is concerned, we are yet to see cases plateau like we have in the UK. India, Omicron cases, of course, have been rising. There was a slight decline in some states, but overall, we've not seen the cases crash or come down considerably. What really is the trajectory you see going for India and the US as far as the spurt in Omicron cases is concerned?
Yes, thank you so much. This is Lokesh Idara from RP Global Medical Education. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Omicron, if you look at the South African model, most of them we see 8 weeks coming down. So does we in Delhi itself. I just saw that we in December 31st we have 1,700. Went to January 13, 18,000. Now it is 4,000. So Delhi went down real quick. Compared to UK is coming down slowly. So mostly we see major effect is 8 weeks to 12, 10 to 12 weeks. That's what we're projecting. And whatever the South Africa, Omicron taken over the Delta spikes. So death rates are very, very less, especially those vaccinated people. Unvaccinated people, it still is some issue, definitely no doubt. Commit the USA, there is a lot of unvaccinated people. That's why we're facing an elderly people we're facing. So, so I think most of the patients, we do telemedicine through the last week or 10 days through all serving Andhra Pradesh through the NTR Memorial Trust and seeing hundreds of patients. So we rarely see patients going to the hospital. Pulse ox is not going down below 95 very rarely, except some comorbid patients. So getting the vaccine again second week, and it's going to be most of them will be out in March or April, depends on which country.
Right. Dr. Ravi Kohli, since Dr. Idara spoke about how a large number of people in the USA are unvaccinated, why are you seeing vaccine hesitancy? We've, of course, seen superstars like Djokovic also. There are many anti-vaxxers. Anti-vaccination, fortunately, that sentiment, even the one would have expected in India, considering, our geography and the rural areas we've not seen that sort of vaccine hesitancy. Why are you seeing vaccine hesitancy in the US? And really, sir, as a psychologist, what would you tell people? It really is time to change mindsets around vaccines, isn't it?
Yeah, good morning, Indian audience. And I'm Ravi Kohli. I'm a psychiatrist here in Pittsburgh. I'm a president-elect of the API, American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. The question you raised is very important. Vaccine hesitancy, especially in a country like America, where people are supposed to be well-educated and well-informed, why there is such hesitancy. But fortunately, majority, like 70%, have vaccinated at least 2 doses, but still there are significant numbers who are hesitant. That number is not moving. The needle is not moving on that population. And this is not just COVID related. There has been an anti-vaccine movement. Some celebrities misguidedly taken the lead on that, and that has misinformed the public about the value and the utilization of the vaccine. So that is an ongoing public health and public education efforts we are all need to involve, including media, experts. Of course, science is always doesn't give you certainties of any answers. Science is a moving target. It gives updates every few months. It doesn't mean that what they told yesterday is wrong, but what we know today is more valid information. So sometimes people get confused because you said something yesterday, you're saying something today, that you need a booster today. You didn't say that yesterday. But science is always in flux. Science doesn't give you certain answers. Science gives you guidance. Science gives you the best evidence you can use. So unfortunately, a lot of people want certainties. Life is not certain. Nothing is certain in life. So, but people who don't have that mental capacity to deal with uncertainty tend to get fixated on one mindset and a narrow mindset. So we need to educate them. We need to calmly and gently and kindly educate them, compassionate. Otherwise, if you fight with them, it's a never ending, and you cannot win with them.
Well, absolutely. It's a never-ending battle, Dr. Kohli. Well said, sir. Dr. Idara, just to take, Dr. Kohli's thought forward, he mentioned booster shots. There is a huge debate raging in India. I'm sure as you're also aware. Far as boosters are concerned, the government has opened boosters only for the elderly, those who are comorbid. What about the adult population? Because here there are two lines of thought. One who say we need to vaccinate the whole world perhaps at the earliest and then think of boosters, and others who say no, vaccine efficacy doesn't last forever. Every 6 to 9 months we need a booster shot, sir. What does science say on that? Where do you stand on that, sir?
Definitely. They have shown that booster shots, especially comorbid patients, it has shown more benefit. It is published articles. Third dose in COVID cases, the 80% reduction in the hospitalization, even the symptomatic patient also reduced significantly. But if you are policymakers such as in India, providing that much number of production, that is the issue which India facing, because booster dose is an ideal thing, but is it practical? So that's why I just saw National Commission on Vaccination recommended it's more important from India, recommended to get the second vaccine than promoting the booster. So that is the government policy, which I just saw today in the news of National Commission on Vaccine Advice or something like that. So definitely, if you can afford, if you're available in the country, yes, booster shot will be definitely helpful. But if you're taking the non-vaccinated people, of course, the priority there. That's what the government has to make the referendum. But one thing is, this booster task, if you give now, it is only going to take 2-3 weeks. So by the time we're going to be after the pandemic, we're already into January 1st, so we're going to be another 4 weeks. So how much it is helpful? That's another thought process.
Well, no, I'd agree with you here, sir, because we've already touched almost the peak as far as Omicron cases are concerned. Perhaps if the government had to think of boosters, should have been earlier. Now, yes, India can afford to wait a few months, perhaps. Dr. Kohli, far as COVID is concerned, sir, there are many who say, I also interviewed Dr. Shifilai today, also from the US, and he also spoke about how we need to just live with COVID. Help us understand really. I'm sure you also have a lot of patients who have mental anxiety, who perhaps call you and say, sir, will COVID ever get over? When is this pandemic going to end? When are we going to reach the endemic stage? What do we know about that journey, sir?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Living with pandemic or living with this COVID is going to be our mantra. That means we need to get as many people vaccinated and updated on their vaccine. And that is a part of the public health and public policy decisions we have to make. You mentioned there are countries that have 50% vaccination. There are developed countries that have 70% vaccination. And the definition of fully vaccinated has been changed into updated vaccinated people. So the data shows if you're had vaccine 6 months before, you have only 50% protection. If you're vaccinated within the 6 months, it's 80% protection. And if you have a booster, you have 90% protection from hospitalization. So the booster is the way to go. That's going to be part of living with COVID, having boosters probably every 6 months. And there's no harm in taking it. 10 billion vaccination doses have been administered all over the world. So there is a huge number. Never has been such a magnitude of vaccines given in such a short time. Within 11 months of our vaccine, the first vaccine, January 2021 to today, 10 billion vaccine doses have been administered. So you have a solid data there. They're very safe, very effective, but the effect doesn't last long, but we need to live with it. So other decisions like wearing masks and all those things are important. Social distancing is also important. But all the countries are loosening their restrictions. UK has completely eliminated vaccine mask regulation, and France has made some changes, and Austria has made some changes. United States has making changes. So we are going to live with it, but doesn't mean that we are going to be recklessly living with it. We have to be prudently live with it and do the right thing and protect. Vaccine is like a shield. If there's a burglar in your neighborhood, you close your doors. You put your fire alarm, security alarm. You don't leave your doors open. It's as simple as that. There's a burglar in the neighborhood. all people have to close their doors and put the security alarm. Otherwise, if one door is open, there's an invitation for him to come and come back again and again. So we need to vaccine and close the door.
All right. And, you mentioned 2 points,
Can-
vaccines, boosters. Yes, sir. Dr. Idara, just to take this forward, I think you want to add something to what
Yes.
Dr. Kohli said. Also had a question for you, sir. Far as booster shots are concerned, help us understand what research says about mixing and matching of vaccines, because in India, that's not allowed yet. There are only 2 vaccines which are available till now, Covaxin and Covishield. 2 other, of course, likely to come, at least in the Indian markets, in a few months from now. But really, where do we stand? Where does the world stand on mixing and matching of vaccines?
Okay. About first, I'll answer the question. If the vaccine available, same company, USA, we're recommending the same thing. If you get Pfizer, you get the same Pfizer. If not available, it's okay to get other vaccine. There is no controversy. It is getting any vaccine. Second dose is important than getting none. That's as simple as that. India availability wise, market availability wise, private availability wise. So mixing definitely is not a controversial. It's definitely a positive thing than getting none. That's what. First of all, what happened is in British, they have the Oxford then the Pfizer short supply, then they mix, then they have to give the Oxford, something like that. So the whole Europe is already have a combination of vaccine. So definitely getting a vaccine is the issue. Now with the Omicron, no matter whether you get infection, you get a vaccination, we are all going to get the Omicron. It's just like it. Another question I want to go back to is living with the COVID. In 1918, 1919, 1920, we dealt with Spanish flu. And same like 2021, 2023 years. So there, the flu, we never lost. The whole century, we're dealing with the flu vaccination. From if you look at last 20 years in US CDC, there's 15,000 to 20,000 people every year will die from flu vaccination in America per year. So living with COVID is nothing new. It's nothing new. We're doing for last century. So we're going to do as long as humans exist, we're going to live with this. It's a matter of a long time. That's what I want. Another thing, what I want is what we have done in the Andhra Pradesh with Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu Garu and his son Lokesh Babu. We did telemedicine. We give the anxiety less. We educated them. We empowered every person to be more educated person, not the doctor. So that's what if other leaders, taking all the telemedicine, go to the grassroots levels to the whole country, we'll issue a lot of more correct information by the ICMR guidelines down to the grassroots level, down to everyone have a smartphone or a phone to reach. That's what we need to do. It's maybe Omicron now, maybe something else tomorrow.
Yes, I think I think that was the point Dr. Kohli was making. You meant to say that they died due to the infection and not the vaccination. But Dr. Kohli, do come in here, sir. Since Dr. Idara made an important and interesting point, which many experts say that all of us are going to get Omicron eventually. There's no escaping it. Do you not think when we hear these words often and often, we also become a little complacent? Because World Health Organization has also warned us against thinking that Omicron is mild. I personally know of people who think that it's better to get Omicron once, considering it's only going to be mild, and maybe they think they'll get some added immunity. What will you say about that mentality, sir?
That complacency and that fatalistic thinking is playing Russian roulette. So because it may be from a population point of view mild, for an individual point of view with your risk factors, with your vulnerabilities, with your genetics, you may be the fatal case that might be vulnerable and perish from the vaccine, from the illness. So while we protect ourselves, we need to be aware that it's going to happen, but the vaccine again will protect you from having more severe illness. Even though it's contagious, it's not as severe. So that is the key to remember. But it could be severe for some vulnerable people. You don't know who those vulnerable people. You may not have known pre-existing pre-morbid condition, but there are unknown genetic factors that seems to make some people vulnerable. So we don't know all the answers. So the best answer is to stay vigilant, but don't be so overly pessimistic about it. Don't be fatalistic about it. Just be prepared, cautiously optimistic, but be prepared, use precautions, common sense, and vaccine. That is the key.
Caution without panic. Caution without panic, the message coming from you, sir. Dr. Lokesh, I had another question in mind. When you speak of panic, one section which is panicking in India are the parents of the young children, especially when we look at what's happening in US, India, the silver lining is that we do not have a large number of children who are getting hospitalized. The cases in US seem to be quite different. You are seeing, if I'm correct, and if I go by the media reports, that there are a large number of children who are getting hospitalized. Why is that? And are children better prepared just by nature the way they are? Do they have better immunity to fight the virus as compared to adults?
Yes. The question about when doing these telemedicine from the grassroots level villages in India is children. So what we have seen in the real data from USA, there are some hospital admission, but we have not seen ICUs, intubation in America. Initially, South Africa report also there are a lot of concern about children non-vaccinated in the hospital, but they're not in the ICU, not many are needed oxygen. So it is this education and the addressing from the real right source down grassroots level. Yes, there's no major panicking on the death or ICU or admissions. Very few are admitted, even in USA real data.
All right. The number of children admitted are less, but sir, when Dr. Kohli, do come in here, sir. When we speak of children, we are seeing large number of schools which have been shut down. The West, of course, has started loosening their restrictions, which you had mentioned earlier. In India, most schools in most states are still shut down. Where do you stand when we speak of reopening of schools? Because there is, of course, one debate on the effect on the psyche and psychology of children, those who are locked up in their homes and are studying via a computer screen for almost a year. Vis-a-vis, of course, the health concern. Children may have better immunity, as Dr. Idara also told us, but they can go home and infect the vulnerable.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Especially in India, people live in a multi-generational household, and there'll be children, grandchildren, grandparents, all in one small area of kind of a household. So whereas in America, we have a little bit more space and more open. And of course, you have more open air that protects you. It's not closed spaces that you live in India. There is a protection, but the crowded places is the negative for infection and contagion of that. So as far as children are concerned, it's very important that children need to socialize. That's part of growing up, part of growth cycle and development. So lack of socialization, the physical activity is causing a lot of obesity, rise in obesity and depression and anxiety, behavioral problems. All these things will rise. So we have to kind of balance these two factors. How do we safely provide the right education, the social learning, as well as the intellectual learning part of the education, as well as keeping the household safe? I don't think we have the perfect answer because of the logistics and the resource scarcity.
Yes.
But as we get to know more and more, we should be able to create more and more space for children to learn and grow, and also not.
But Dr. Idara, when we also speak, just taking this thought forward, and you can add in what you wanted to, sir. Far as children are concerned, again, vaccination of children. Many experts say not needed because they have better immunity. Many say we need to start vaccinating children to ensure that they do not pass on the disease to someone vulnerable back in their home. In India, till now, those above 15 to 17 have started getting vaccinated. Those below 15, not yet vaccinated. Help us understand some what's happening in the US, and perhaps what is your take on the same?
Oh, vaccination, if you just go back to the flu vaccination, it is recommended from 1 year old to 99 years old. So it's a matter of, the reason is now USA, I think 5 years are approved. It's just they're doing studies to safety level. That's the reason delay in the introduction of vaccination in the children. So now 5 years up is eventually within a few months or a year, it will get to the 1 year old. So definitely vaccination for everybody is a matter of time. One of the safety reasons are concerned. About going back to the schools, I think what we initially worried about is when the pandemic is going on and the schools open, the caseload so high that we end up in admissions. So that way we wanted, the government's taken the policy of closing or cut down. Now the peak is coming down, so that I think you will be seeing more and more opening the schools next 3-4 weeks. That you will going to watch that. That's very simple policy making by the government.
If I might chime in, and also there are more treatments available. COVID is going to be an outpatient illness with all those treatments available as in the pill form. doesn't have to be necessarily
Yes.
aggressively inpatient treatment.
You spoke of pills, sir. There are, of course, Paxlovid, which is available in US. The generic version, of course, for countries like India, a developing world, we'll have to generally wait for these, pills. We have Molnupiravir, controversial, but yes, sometimes steroids necessary. Help us understand, really, sir, when you speak of drugs, how do you think they could change the course of the disease? Dr. Idara, I'll come to you. Dr. Kohli, just finish the thought. And Dr. Idara, you can take this question as well.
Yeah, I would like Dr. Idara to comment on it, but definitely it's going to be an outpatient illness eventually, and people get it. If they get a little bit sick, there's treatment options available that need not be administered in a hospital setting or intravenous setting, or can be given as a pill form, so that makes it easier. The wider the distribution of these medications are available, the easier it will be able to provide the right treatment at the right time at the right place.
Right, Dr. Idara, just taking this forward with you.
Let's go with the medications. The monoclonal antibody, or what we call is cocktail, which is not Omicron. None of the India available is approved. Only one approved here in USA. So giving for most of the people, unless very elderly, routinely is very unethical. So when you come with the remdesivir, is antiviral, they have shown some benefit reducing the hospitalization, but not death. So that is also oversold. And historically, the RNA virus antivirals are not really productively helped. But that's even if you give all the medicines to the country, only reach only certain person, not whole country. So definitely talking to them. The one thing we missed in the pandemic is following the patient at a daily basis. All these are, everybody looking for a new magic bullet, which is nothing there. So go to the basics, fundamental, simple treatment, and currently all are symptomatic treatment. Very rarely you need any.
That was going to be my next question. So there is no panacea, as you mentioned, to fighting COVID. That magic bullet, that magic pill, which everyone is searching for. But when you speak of, say, a Paxlovid, or even monoclonal antibody, there are many hospitals which are, of course, administering in India. Approval yet awaited. You're right about that, sir. But when you speak of medication, perhaps a Paxlovid, perhaps a Molnupiravir, is it required at all in Omicron patients? What has been your experience like as a physician in USA? Because far as I understand as a layman, in milder cases, especially the way the trajectory of Omicron has been, are these medications required at all?
Well, actually, these antivirals, our government is excellent in dealing with the medications. They're putting out the publications with ICMR. The one major issue we've seen is whatever the Delhi ICMR publication, which is not implemented across the country. Doctors giving whatever they want. They're giving Zincovir, they're giving oral antivirals, they're giving anti-monoclonal. They're not persistently following the standard simple protocol, which is on the website given by ICMR. That's the only simple thing. They're not, that's where the inconsistency is. Some are following, but not everybody. That's where the issue.
Right. And obviously, as you
we're really proud of their work. We're really proud of our government work and the production of scientists. We just not following. That's one simple thing.
And Dr. Kohli, taking forward, this panic which grips people when, of course, COVID strikes, the day you get to know your RT-PCR report positive, last time we saw so many people, as Dr. Idara also said, taking Faviflu and taking many other medications, which have now been discouraged and have been discarded. What would you say to people? Maybe, no self-medication in panic, which is just follow your physician. And of course, for the physicians also to follow guidelines, which are anyway put out for different categories of cases and are revised quite fairly by the government.
Yeah, it's a $1 million question because while we have wide access to information, there's also misinformation also widely circulating. So people do panic when we find the results that are positive. We tend to panic and we want something done. So we are action oriented. We want something done immediately. So sometimes not doing anything is the wise thing. Sometimes taking a natural course of illness is a better option than trying to rush it and suppress it. So, but it does take a lot of calmness and patience and education and support and belief and trust in your caregiver to follow those guidelines. So meanwhile, people panic, people read information that may not be 100% vetted and accurate. So people make wrong choices, but again, trust in the system, trust in the government, trust in the doctors, trust in the science is important, that we need to build it up. Of course, sometimes we do make mistakes. When we make a mistake, it's better to admit rather than cover it up. Covering up will also add to more distrust. So building trust is so important in all aspects of our life, whether it's a one-on-one personal relationship or a doctor-patient relationship or government and citizen relationship.
All right, sir. We're short of time. So in conclusion, of course, the message coming today is that follow caution. Do not panic. Follow the government guidelines. Google, WhatsApp is not your doctor. You get a prescription. Best to follow that. Many valuable lessons, be it booster shots, be it dealing when it comes to Omicron and children coming from America. Some of them, of course, can be used in an Indian context. It's been a rather riveting conversation. Thank you both for joining us on NewsX.
Thank you for it.
Thank you for having us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.